Hey, my Stoic friends, I want you to imagine something. Someone walks out of your life with no goodbye, no explanation, just silence. The kind of silence that echoes, leaving you with a void. It hurts, doesn't it? The absence of their presence, the unanswered questions. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, they come back. They return as though nothing ever happened, and you're left standing there wondering, why? Why, after all that time, all that silence, do they come back? This question isn't just about them, it's about understanding yourself, your worth, and how you navigate the complex dance of relationships. It's about seeing the deeper truth that lies beneath their return, because their return isn't just a reflection of them, it's a reflection of how much they've come to realize what they lost, even if they can't always articulate it. That's where your Stoic wisdom comes in. We've all experienced the pain of someone leaving without a word, and it's hard not to feel dismissed, forgotten, or taken for granted. But I want you to understand something today. Their return isn't about needing them to come back to validate your worth. No, it's about you realizing your own strength, dignity, and self-respect. You see, when you are emotionally steady, when you know your worth, you become less affected by the actions of others, whether they leave or come back. You stand firm in your own value. This is the essence of Stoicism. We cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we react to them. It's about accepting the situation with grace, not desperation. And here's the powerful truth I want you to remember. Your absence holds weight. They feel it, even if they can't immediately understand it. Your energy, your presence, your steadiness, they realize it once it's gone. But here's the key. You don't need their return to affirm your worth. You've already built that sense of self. So as we explore the mystery of their return today, I want you to hold on to this central truth. Your worth is not contingent on anyone's presence, not on their absence, and certainly not on their return. As we move through this together, let's affirm these truths in our hearts. Number 1, they realize your value in absence. When someone walks away, they often fail to recognize the true value you bring until you're no longer there. Initially, they may take your presence for granted, thinking that life will go on as usual without you. However, with time, they begin to notice the absence of your contributions, the quiet strength, the emotional support, the wisdom, and the peace you brought to their life. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." Often, those who leave fail to see just how much of their strength and peace came from your presence. They mistake your steadiness for something that's easily replaceable, but in reality, it's rare and invaluable. Your value isn't simply about what you do, it's about who you are. You provided a sense of balance, clarity, and resilience that they may have overlooked. In your absence, they begin to confront the chaos of their own lives, their unaddressed doubts, fears, and insecurities, and realize how much they relied on your calm and stability. You were not just a part of their life, you were a foundation. And without that foundation, they're left questioning, searching, and grappling with uncertainty. When they begin to see that their world feels different, less anchored, and more chaotic without you, they start to understand what they truly lost. They come to recognize your value, not because you told them, but because your absence forced them to reflect on what truly matters. Your strength, your emotional resilience, and your clarity weren't things that could be easily replaced. They see you thriving, living your life with purpose and independence, and it challenges their own doubts and fears. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." They come to see that their distress wasn't caused by your departure, but by their perception of your absence. When they return, it's not because you begged for their validation, but because they've started to realize what they lost in you, the depth, the clarity, and the growth they admired, even if they couldn't fully appreciate it at the time. Affirm with me, I am valued, even in absence. By affirming this, you're reminding yourself that your worth isn't tied to anyone's recognition or presence. Your absence doesn't diminish your value, it amplifies it, as those who left are forced to confront what they lacked when you were gone. Their return isn't about needing you, it's about needing the parts of themselves that they ignored in your absence. You were not responsible for their growth, but your presence often triggered something within them. They began to recognize that what they once undervalued now feels like a missing piece of their lives. But your value is no longer something they control. It resides within you. You don't need anyone to affirm your worth because you've already discovered it. Let them come back, but don't base your sense of self on their return. Your strength, independence, and growth are yours alone, and they are already deeply woven into who you are. Number 2, they feel the void of your presence. When someone walks away, they don't always realize the full impact of your absence immediately. Initially, they may think they've moved on, convinced that life continues without you. However, as time passes, something shifts. They begin to feel a void, a silent, often subtle emptiness that they didn't expect to feel. This void isn't just about physical proximity, it's about the deeper connection, the presence of someone who brought stability, support, and understanding. Your absence leaves behind an emotional gap that they didn't notice before, a space where once there was trust, calm, and a sense of security. Seneca wisely observed, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." What he meant is that people often overlook what truly matters until it's gone. In their absence, they feel the weight of the void, realizing that their life is not as complete as they once believed it to be. They begin to notice the little things, the way you listened, the quiet strength you offered in moments of turmoil, and the grounding presence you provided. These weren't things they actively sought out or consciously appreciated before, but now they feel their absence acutely. In their search for meaning and fulfillment, they feel the void you left behind, not because you were gone, but because they became aware of what they lost. This void becomes a reminder of what once existed, but now feels missing. They may try to fill it with other distractions or seek replacements, but they soon realize that the void remains, untouched by temporary fixes. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you wish, but rather wish the events to happen as they do, and you will find peace." The void they feel isn't a reflection of their loss of control. It's a reflection of the reality that your presence once filled something they now recognize as irreplaceable. They may not fully understand what they're missing, but their sense of emptiness tells them something important, that life feels incomplete without the steadying influence you provided. It becomes less about the relationship itself and more about the space they now feel within themselves. Your absence isn't just a loss in their eyes. It's a reminder of what they once had and let go. They start to miss the connection, the stability, and the emotional depth you brought. They realize that while they may have tried to move on, part of them remains tethered to the space where you once stood. When they feel the void, they are ultimately facing the reality of their own inner world, the part they neglected or took for granted. It's in this void that they confront their own insecurities, doubts, and the realization that they've lost something important. Affirm with me, I create my own presence and peace. By affirming this, you're reinforcing that your presence wasn't something they gave to you. It was something you carried within yourself. Your peace, clarity, and strength come from within, not from external validation or the presence of others. Their return isn't driven by a need for closure or resolution. It's driven by their realization that something within themselves feels incomplete. The void they feel isn't about needing you back. It's about needing to reconcile what they lost in themselves when you left. You don't need to fill their void. Your role wasn't to complete them, it was to help them see what they were missing. Let them return, not because they seek you, but because they seek what they left behind, an understanding of their own wholeness. Your absence has created a space that forces them to reflect on what they've lost and what they need to find within themselves. The void they feel isn't a reflection of your absence, it's a reflection of their own internal struggle. So, remain firm in your peace and remember, you create your own presence, and that presence doesn't depend on anyone else. Number 3, curiosity about your growth. When someone walks away, they often do so with the belief that life continues on without them. What they don't anticipate is the transformation you undergo in their absence. People tend to focus on their own immediate circumstances, unaware that you too are growing, evolving, and adapting to life without them. Curiosity about your growth begins to take root in their minds because, deep down, they wonder how you're managing without them. They might have left expecting you to stagnate, to struggle, or to fall apart without their presence, but as time goes on, they see glimpses of a different reality, a version of you that is thriving, resilient, and stronger than they ever imagined. Seneca reminds us, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult." What this means is that the very act of walking away challenges both of you, but especially them, to confront their own assumptions about you and about life. They underestimated your capacity for growth and strength, and their curiosity begins to surface when they realize how much you've changed. They wonder, who have they become without me? There's an element of uncertainty and intrigue that draws them back. They see your independence, your resilience, and the way you've continued to flourish despite their absence, and it makes them question what they might have missed out on by leaving. Their curiosity stems from a desire to understand how you've adapted, how you've found peace, and how you've managed to live without the support or presence they once provided. They start to wonder, what has shaped them into the person they've become? And this inquiry opens a door to the realization that your growth was independent of their influence. People often return, not because they fully understand your journey, but because they're drawn to the change they see in you. They seek answers to questions about your transformation, because they may have believed you were dependent on them for your progress. When they witness your evolution, your confidence, your resilience, and your sense of inner peace, they realize they underestimated your potential. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." Your ability to stay focused on your own personal growth has made you a reflection of someone who has mastered the art of staying centered and strong amidst uncertainty. And this, in turn, piques their curiosity. They wonder, what gave them the strength to keep going? Your growth forces them to reflect on their own doubts and insecurities, leading to a deeper understanding of what they might have left behind. They begin to acknowledge that their departure didn't just affect you, it challenged their assumptions about what they believed was possible for themselves and for you. Curiosity also brings them face to face with their own regrets and fears of missed opportunities. They start to ask themselves, what could have been if I had stayed? This question isn't just about what you've become, but about what they've lost, the version of themselves that might have contributed to your growth rather than hindered it. Their curiosity is a reminder that growth often unfolds outside of their control. You've become someone they didn't fully recognize, someone who is evolving beyond their expectations. It's not about needing them back, It's about them needing to understand the depth of change they couldn't foresee. When they return, it's often not to recapture what was lost, but to satisfy the curiosity of what could have been. They may come seeking answers to questions that no longer need asking, but the essence of your growth remains beyond their grasp. Affirm with me, I grow and evolve independently. This affirmation reinforces that your growth is not tied to anyone else's understanding. Your journey has shaped you into someone capable of flourishing with or without them. Their curiosity doesn't define your progress. It's their own inner reflection that draws them back to what they didn't see or understand before. Let them return, but remember, your growth wasn't for their validation, it was for your own development. Stand firm in the person you've become, knowing that your evolution is a testament to your strength, not their understanding of it. Number 4, you trigger their inner insecurities. When someone walks away from you, it often stems from their own struggles, whether it's fear, uncertainty, or unresolved personal issues. What they may not realize is that their departure doesn't solely reflect their dissatisfaction with the relationship, but rather their discomfort with aspects of themselves. When you disappear from their life, you become a mirror, reflecting back their unresolved insecurities, fears, and self-doubt. People often run from their own vulnerabilities, avoiding the inner battles they're not ready to face. But when you remove yourself from their life, it leaves a void they cannot ignore. You trigger their insecurities not because you intend to, but because your strength, confidence, and growth remind them of the qualities they've been avoiding. Seneca said, "If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person." This perfectly encapsulates what happens when someone walks away from you. They aren't ready to confront their shortcomings, their fears, and their doubts. By walking away, they may be hoping to avoid dealing with these internal struggles. But as time goes on, they begin to see the strength you've developed, the resilience you've built, and the confidence you now radiate. This challenges their self-perception. They begin to question the foundations of their own identity, realizing that they've been avoiding the very qualities they admired in you. Your absence forces them to confront their insecurities, the parts of themselves they've pushed aside. They see your growth and wonder, why am I not like that? Your emotional clarity, your stability, and your ability to navigate life's challenges without falling apart become a mirror reflecting their own fears and uncertainties. In a way, your growth becomes a reminder of what they're lacking: self-worth, confidence, resilience. They see you thriving, and in doing so, they're faced with the realization that they haven't yet embraced their own potential. Your absence highlights the contrast between who you've become and who they feel they are not. Their insecurities are often tied to the belief that they're incapable of achieving what you've achieved. When they see you thriving, they feel a void within themselves, one that may be difficult to fill. They may have thought that your absence would erase this discomfort, but instead, it amplifies it. Your strength becomes a challenge to their self-perception. They realize they're holding themselves back, unable to access the peace, confidence, and clarity that you now possess. Their return is not necessarily because they've overcome these insecurities, but because your growth forces them to recognize these parts of themselves they've tried to avoid. You are not responsible for their insecurities, nor should you feel the need to fix them. Your growth wasn't for them, it was for yourself. But their return, driven by their inner struggles, reflects their attempt to reconcile these discomforts. Affirm with me, I am not responsible for anyone else's insecurities. When they return, it's not because you've failed them, but because you've triggered something deep within them, an opportunity to confront what they've long tried to avoid. Their return may feel like a disruption, but it's an opportunity for them to face their own fears. Your strength, your growth, and your clarity force them to look inward. In the end, their return is a reflection of their own need to grow, not a testament to your weaknesses. You've already grown into someone capable of thriving, and that in itself is a powerful statement. Number 5, they miss your stability. In a world that's often unpredictable and chaotic, stability becomes an increasingly rare and invaluable quality. When someone walks away from your life, they may not initially recognize the significance of the calm and grounded energy you provide. However, as time passes and they are forced to navigate the turbulence of their own existence without you, they begin to feel the void that your stability once filled. Stability is something many people take for granted until it's no longer there. When someone leaves, they may believe their life will continue as normal. Without you, they'll manage just fine. They might assume they can handle the chaos alone without your steady presence. Yet, what they often fail to anticipate is the impact of your emotional resilience and grounded energy. Over time, they begin to feel the weight of the instability they once overlooked. They experience the uncertainty, the doubt, and the confusion that arises when the steadying influence you once provided is no longer part of their world. The philosopher Epicurus once said, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." Your ability to handle adversity with grace and strength was what anchored them, whether they realized it at the time or not. In your presence, they felt a sense of security, a foundation that allowed them to navigate life's challenges without feeling completely lost. When they needed clarity, emotional support, or someone to lean on, you were there, unwavering, offering a sense of calm and steadiness. They knew that no matter what was happening in their lives, you were someone who could hold things together. But when that support is no longer available, number 6, they seek closure they never had. When someone walks away from your life, it often leaves them with a sense of incompleteness, a chapter that feels unwritten, unanswered questions lingering in the air. They may not have received the closure they were seeking or hoped for, and as a result, their minds are often preoccupied with unresolved feelings. They may wonder why things ended the way they did, why you distanced yourself, or even seek explanations for their own actions and decisions. The pursuit of closure is a deeply human need. We all desire a sense of understanding, clarity, and resolution when things don't go as planned. However, closure isn't always something that others can provide. It's often something we must create within ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wisely reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The absence of closure doesn't need to leave a void in your heart if you've already found peace within. When someone doesn't receive the answers they crave, they may return in search of those answers. They seek to tie up loose ends, to understand the silence, and to make sense of why things happened as they did. Their return isn't necessarily about rekindling a relationship. It's often driven by a need to reconcile their internal conflicts. They hope that by seeking you out, they'll find the closure they believe they've been missing. But here's the truth. True closure doesn't always come from external explanations. It's not something someone else can give you. It's a process that happens internally. By choosing not to chase after their answers, you've already taken control of your peace of mind. Closure is often an illusion, something people search for endlessly, believing it will bring them the resolution they need. However, what they fail to realize is that peace comes from acceptance, not from explanations. When they return, it's not because you hold the answers they've been searching for. It's because they've realized they haven't found the peace they hoped for, and now they believe you might have the key. They hope you'll provide them with the closure they seek, but the reality is, Their peace doesn't depend on your ability to make sense of the past. By choosing to stand firm in your own emotional independence, you've already embraced the truth that closure comes from within. You've processed the situation, accepted it for what it is, and moved forward. You've made peace with the fact that some questions may never be answered. You've already found your closure, and that gives you strength. When they return, seeking explanations or trying to reopen old wounds, they may attempt to provoke a response or hope for something that no longer needs validation. But your peace isn't negotiable. You've learned that closure isn't something to be handed to you. It's something you create through acceptance and self-awareness. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, reminds us, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your ability to respond with grace and strength is what has brought you to a place of internal peace. You've already taken the steps necessary to move forward, and their return isn't about resolving the past. It's about their unresolved feelings, their unaddressed issues, and their need for closure that they've yet to find. Their return isn't about you proving your worth to them or explaining what they failed to understand. It's about them seeking to fill a void that they believe you hold the key to. But the reality is, your worth isn't defined by anyone's need for closure or understanding. You've already found peace, and that is what matters most. Affirm with me, "I am complete on my own." By making this affirmation, you're reminding yourself that closure isn't something you need from others. It's something you've created within yourself. Their return may stir emotions or provoke thoughts, but it's important to recognize that your peace isn't dependent on their explanations. When they seek closure, they are often looking for validation, answers, or a sense of understanding that they believe only you can provide. But in reality, the answers they seek are not outside of themselves. The peace they are after is something they need to cultivate from within. You've already moved forward, accepting the situation for what it is. Your growth, resilience, and inner peace are far greater than any explanation they could give. The closure you've found is stronger than any words or actions they might offer. In the end, their return isn't about you. It's about their own unresolved feelings. They are seeking something they feel is missing, but what they fail to realize is that the peace they are searching for lies within themselves. Your absence doesn't need to create a void. You've already found the strength to carry on, and that is where your true power resides. Their return may feel like they are trying to pull you back into old patterns or questions that no longer matter. But you've already learned that your peace is non-negotiable. You don't need anyone else to give you what they cannot. Your closure is already within you. So when they return, stand firm in your emotional independence and recognize that their return is not about fixing the past. It's about their need for what they haven't yet found. And that need, though valid, is not yours to fulfill. You are already whole. You've already found your peace. You are complete on your own. And that, my friends, is the most empowering realization you can hold. Number 7, they see you thriving without them. There's something incredibly powerful that happens when someone walks away and you continue to thrive. At first, they may have believed your life would crumble without them. They may have expected you to fall apart, to struggle in their absence. But instead, you've become stronger, more independent, and more resilient. Maya Angelou once said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. And you, my friends, have not been defeated. Instead, you have flourished. Your success, your growth, and your ability to thrive without them is one of the most compelling reasons they might return. When you're no longer dependent on their presence for your happiness, when you show that you can live, grow, and succeed on your own terms, it triggers something in them. They see the strength you've developed in their absence. They see the person you've become, and it makes them question why they ever doubted you. What they fail to realize is that your growth isn't a result of their absence. It's a result of your own efforts, your own determination to evolve, regardless of their role in your life. You've built a life that isn't defined by their actions or approval. This is the kind of inner strength that attracts others, but also serves as a stark reminder to those who left what they're missing. When they return, they do so not because they want to disrupt your life or seek validation from you, but because they're drawn to the version of you that's now so much more than they ever imagined. They see you thriving, and in their minds they may wonder, could I have been a part of this success? But by the time they come back, you've already found your power and independence. Affirm with me, I am thriving, independent of anyone else's presence. When you live this affirmation, you are owning your success. You've shown that your worth isn't tied to anyone's presence. This is the most powerful message you can send. When they see you thriving, they can't help but be reminded of the person you are, a person who doesn't need anyone to complete them. And that, my friends, is exactly why your absence speaks volumes, and why their return is more about them than it is about you. You are already living your best life, independent, strong, and thriving, without needing their validation. Now the question is, will you let their presence shake your sense of self, or will you stand firm in the person you've become? Their return isn't about proving your worth to them. It's about acknowledging that your worth has always been there, whether they saw it or not. You are not defined by anyone's actions, and you certainly aren't defined by their return. You've already learned to thrive, to grow, and to live on your own terms. Now, the question is, will you allow their return to add to your journey, or will you recognize it as a reminder of how far you've come without them? Remember, you don't need anyone to validate your worth. You are complete, whole, and powerful as you are. Your absence spoke volumes, and your presence is a testament to your strength. Keep thriving, keep growing, keep living with the resilience that has always been within you. Drop your affirmation in the comments. I am thriving, independent of anyone else's presence. Let's keep building this community of strength, resilience, and self-worth. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You are in control of your story. Keep writing it.